everybody. My name is Steven. You guys know that. I'm the host. It's been a little while since I did a podcast, but I'm very honored to have this individual here today. He is a incredible individual. He's got an incredible story from what I understand, and I just want to learn more about him, and I think he's got a lot of things to say that will add value to not only my life, but anybody that's watching. So I'm grateful to introduce and have Zach Lee on the podcast today.
I'm not sure who you've been talking to about build me up like that, but okay, appreciate it. Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Well, if you're employed here, I would like to think that they have very valuable people around.
From what I've seen, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, first things first is we know your name, but I want to know a little bit more about your background, like kind of where you grew up, what your home life was like. Just kind of spend a few minutes just talking about where you're born, where you grew up, how you grew up, and then like what life was like before Calvary, really, you know?
I'm almost 40, Steven. That's a long time.
Well,
I'll give you, how about a short excerpt until I turned 18 and joined the Marines? That's kind of like,
I think that's
I
great.
view my life in kind of like different stages.
Yes.
I got stage 1, 0 to 18.
Okay.
Stage 2 is Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Stage 3 is private contractor. Stage 4 is cop. Stage 5 is married life, family, Calvary.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my dashes of life.
Incredible.
So,
yeah, that's great.
Many stories in between.
I think that break at 18, right before the Marines, we'll start there, and then I'll ask
start
questions.
there, or do you want before that?
Yeah, before that. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So, grew up in Chickamauga, Georgia, about 20 minutes from here. We grew up in the country. We had about 40 acres growing up. Mom, dad. I'm the oldest of 3. So my little brother, my sister's 4 years younger. My little brother's 10 years younger. It's a good spread there. Grew up playing by myself out in the woods, literally playing Army. You're going to laugh at me, but G.I. Joe was a huge part of my life growing up. Like tons of them. My dad built me a big room, had G.I. Joes everywhere. So I just played Army, military all the time.
That's cool.
I joined, grew up went to church in Chattanooga Valley. Went to school at Gordon Lee. Graduated there. And then, let's see here, joined the Marine Corps my junior year of high school.
Okay.
And had to wait till I graduated. And I ended up going to boot camp 3 days after I graduated high school.
Okay.
So I knew for a long time I was going to go in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
I remember backpacking with my dad on the Appalachian Trail. I was probably like 15, and I was like, what do I want to do in the Marine Corps? Not if I wanted to go to the Marine Corps, but what do I want to do in the Marine Corps?
Yeah.
And I ended up making a decision back then to go to the infantry. So I signed up for the infantry in the Marine Corps, and then right after high school, went out to boot camp. So
What were your thoughts? Like, so you said 3 days after you graduated.
Mm-hmm.
What was going on in your mind from graduated, and then you knew 3 days later you were going to go to boot camp?
I don't remember that
No?
far. No, that was such a, like,
You were probably pretty pumped.
it's
huh?
really weird about my memory, as like some things are just there and some things are not. It's I don't know if it's where it's from, but like that was just, we're ready
Yeah.
to go.
I can imagine that if you're graduating high school, you're probably pretty pumped,
Right.
but you're also probably a little nervous
Yeah.
that you're about to like jump into the thing.
I wasn't like sad to be graduating high school. It was time
Yeah.
to go, and I was ready to go off to the Marine Corps. I think 9/11 had happened 2 years before that.
Oh, wow.
So I remember being all motivated, and I was like, oh, the war's going to be over by the time I get to go in, was the attitude of a naive 16-year-old at the time,
Yeah.
So I was excited to go.
Yeah. That's so cool. I'm just curious. Like, I don't think we've talked about sports, but you went to Gordon Lee. Did you do
Gordon Lee.
sports?
I played baseball growing up, played basketball. I love playing baseball. And kind of, I remember my dad was my coach growing up in Little League and all that stuff. And those were some good memories. growing up. He put a lot of effort in that. We had a baseball field in our backyard. We had a pasture. My dad literally had like, you know, if you took the Field of Dreams movie and dialed it back by like 80%, you know, we had the 20% Field of Dreams out there.
That's cool.
Had
That's
a backstop, a pitching cage, all kinds of stuff out there. So it was fun.
Cool.
Had team practices out there. Had a dog that would play shortstop and catch the balls. It was fun.
That's cool.
So, you know, I had a really good childhood growing up. Good family. And we're all still good. So
that's super cool. Can you dunk? That's a real question.
No, I cannot dunk. Why can't jump? Yes, I've tried. I'm 6'3" and I could touch the rim.
I can dunk.
I don't have any ups. No umps. You're taller than me.
I just wasn't sure.
What size goal are we talking about?
8.5.
8.5. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
No,
8.5.
I'm just kidding.
No, I was funny because I remember middle school basketball rubbed me the wrong way. I was one of 3 sixth graders to make the basketball team.
Okay.
And the rest were all 7th graders for the JV team. I was like, I don't really think I deserve to make it, but whatever.
Yeah.
So in 3 seasons of basketball, 3 whole seasons, I remember I added it up. I played 2 minutes and 18 seconds in 3 seasons and put in so much effort. So I was a little jaded by sports after that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I probably didn't deserve to make the team in the first place, but whatever. Anyway,
well,
so
that
kind of
was,
faded out of sports. To answer your sports question, I faded out of sports after that.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild. And when I was in middle school, they had an A and B team, and everybody made it.
Right. Okay.
So everybody got playing time.
Did you get your participation trophy?
I think they had quarter. I think every quarter there had to be a new 5 going out on the floor.
How old were you?
I was, well, middle school, I was,
okay, in middle school. Yeah, that's different from middle school.
12, 13, 14. So,
I mean, it's nice, but if, you know, when you got to win and stuff,
yeah,
if you're not the best, you sit the bench.
Yeah. They really didn't like cut, like hard cut, like you got to earn it until JV. And, that's really cool. We have a similarity. My dad was a basketball coach for my brothers and I, pretty much from he's kind of still a basketball coach.
That's cool.
Yeah, from, you know, 5th grade until my junior year, I was pretty much in the gym with him and other coaches. Like, they were just together working with the teams. So yeah, that's really cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, so so there is a lot of things that I wanted to learn more about you, but one thing that I it's not even a thing in my mind that I can like manufacture or imagine is being in the Marines, or being in the military of any sort. So I wanna hear a lot about that. And what was it like when you jumped in? What was your number one highlight? What was maybe one of your number one lows? What was your most heroic moment? Like, for me, I'm like, I mean, any military guy is like, you know, a hero. You know, you thank everybody for their service. You know.
Yeah.
So, I guess, just speak on some of the highlights of your.
Well, you mentioned highs and lows and stuff like that, which is funny because that's kind of how I've always viewed the military, especially in that era of people in 9/11 was going on, Iraq kicked off, and as an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, because you're still a kid. You know, they say you're an adult, but you're not. I didn't act like an adult.
I still don't.
No, I'm a man child. There's a lot that happened, you know, and it impacted. There's only 4 years. I only did 4 years while I was in, but there's a lot that impacted your life at that young of an age. So I have a lot of opinions about people going in the military nowadays. You know, not that they should or shouldn't, but here's what it is.
Yeah.
Be careful. It is not a wholesome environment.
Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah.
I have a very high respect for a man that his story, he joined the military, and he went in and he surrounded himself with people to teach about Jesus. And I was like, what? That's crazy. Used to go sit at bars. Not me. This is a guy named Daniel. Used to go sit at bars and strike up conversations with people about Jesus because he knew there were full of sinners in the whole room. I was like, dude, that's like next level stuff.
Yeah.
Next level stuff. So that's anyway, that wasn't me. I was the opposite. I was the sinner in the room.
He almost put like the label witness before military.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It was, yes, very much so. Anyway. So I went in pretty naive about it, military, yay. Boot camp was easy. It's as long as you listen to what you're told, you know, and think of it as a game to get through.
Yeah.
It is. It's not too hard. It was a scrawny, tiny little thing back then. Let's see what else. I went to School of Infantry after that. Out of infantry school, I had 3 goals in the military. One was to become a sergeant in 4 years. 2 was to go to recon school and go to recon, and 3 was to lead troops in combat. That was kind of like my goals I set up for myself in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I went to recon school right out of infantry school. They kind of drafted you from there. Who wants to join? Who can meet the qualifications? So I met the qualifications, went into a recon indoctrination program, and that's about when. See, I was 18. That's when alcohol kicked in my life. Pretty good.
Yeah.
You're surrounded by a lot of people. So drinking here and there with your buddies, just fitting in, whatever. And so what you should not do when you're drinking is punch your lieutenant in the face when you're off duty. That will get you kicked out of things. So I was no longer in recon after that.
Oh,
so
wow.
that goal got diminished. And then I went down to just infantry in the fleet, which was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I met some really good guys while I was in. So I went down to a unit in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and stayed there for the next 3 years. So, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I was there. Went on 3 deployments while I was in the Marines. My first one was to Haiti. Let's see, I probably would have been 19 on my first deployment. In your first deployment, they shave your head. It's kind of like a rite of passage. So my head got scalped.
Yeah.
Went down there, stayed at the President's Palace. It was a good experience,
Yeah.
Some parts were beautiful, but Port-au-Prince, Haiti, ooh, man, it was rough.
There wasn't was there like a hurricane?
No, that was after. This was when the president left the country, and it was in like a crisis, and riots were going on, and it was just unstable. So we were on air alert and went down there.
Okay.
To save the day or whatever. We ended up we ended up staying at the President's Palace for 4 months.
Yeah.
Doing patrols around the city. It was cool. It was a good experience. Nothing crazy happened. Nothing that like traumatic, I guess you could say. I found out about Christian voodoo because that's down there. That was interesting stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'd go around on searches and find chicken heads chopped off with, Catholic Jesus on the wall and blood everywhere. And I was like, what is going on here? Like, oh yeah, it's Christianity. It's voodoo Christianity. It's like, okay. Anyway.
That is wild. I will be honest. There's a lot that goes on, there's a lot of like things that you see on the internet or whatever, just about faith and Christianity and how different things. And I've never heard of anything like that.
It's very interesting. Yeah, there's one little story. See, me and my buddy Hernandez were on post. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and we were guarding the front gate. As a new Marine, you always got to stay on the worst post or whatever. And there's this witch doctor lady that came up to the front gate with a bag of bones, screaming and yelling or whatever. My buddy was Catholic, and he's like, "Man, this ain't cool." He gets getting freaked out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, she like screams this bag of bone, picks up some dog poop, and wipes it on the president's gate, right? And the whole city goes quiet. I mean, the city was pretty quiet, but there's dogs barking and stuff like that. All the dogs in the city stopped barking all at once. It was some weird stuff. And we're like, what in the world? He takes off running. He's freaked out.
Yeah.
So I'm just sitting there chilling. She does some weird screaming chant, throws down the bag of bones. And I'm not kidding you, Steven. Thousands of dogs started barking simultaneously.
Wow.
All over the city. I'm talking simultaneously. It was like thousands of dogs started barking. And she's sitting there screaming all of a sudden. It went from perfectly quiet to
Yeah.
all at once. So I was like, well, this is weird.
Yeah.
I was like, please don't come to the gate. I'll have to shoot you.
Yeah.
This is like, don't get near me.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's some weird stories that happened down there, but that was a pretty easy deployment.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to think of one comparison in my life, and I want to say that there was maybe one instance in like this small farming community that was something a little odd was going on like that. But yeah, it's pretty intense.
That's an extreme.
And you
It's
were
an
what?
extreme.
You were 20?
19.
19. Got you.
19. Probably either 19 or going on 20, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Got
and then, so I'm assuming we want to tie faith into this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I'm gonna
I
ask.
still had my faith from growing up at that point.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah. Was still young.
Yeah.
Was still young and teetering with it, I
You
guess
did
you
a
could
little
say.
switcheroony though. Like
I do
one
do.
day
There
you're
is a
like,
switcheroony at some point coming up, or a lull, I'll say.
Yeah.
Not a switcheroony. So the next deployment was to Fallujah in 2005, and I remember my 21st birthday was the first day I ever spent in Iraq. We landed on my 21st birthday, January 18th, 2005. We landed there, flew in, and I was like, man, this is cool. 21st birthday, yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that deployment was all right. It was nothing crazy happened. We weren't the unit that went in and did the full assault on that city. Back then, we were the one that came in right after them. So we kind of cleaned up some stuff. We lost a couple guys, nothing crazy from our unit there. Mostly we found a bunch of munitions, blew them up, kind of stuff like that. It was,
Yeah.
6.5 months, couple car bombs here and there, nothing too crazy in the terms of what could be in
Yeah.
the military. And then after that, I remember getting back to the States and then went downhill pretty quick. Drinking, partying, having fun. You just got to let loose, or at least that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Didn't have any influx of Jesus in my life at
Yeah.
all, like none.
Yeah. Where did you went back, you came back home to Chickamauga?
To the States, no.
Oh.
So we only had, I think, if I can remember right, it's 21 days a year you'd get off.
Okay.
So you'd come back home for like a week.
Yeah.
But so we get back, and the next 7 months of life, all it consisted of was work during the week. And on Friday, as soon as we could leave, me and friends, whether it be 2 friends or 10
Blitzed.
friends, no, we would literally say, which college are we going to?
Yeah.
And we would get in the car and drive between 2 hours and 7 hours for a Friday night, a Saturday night, and would have to come back Sunday.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. We were just looking for fun.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. All over North Carolina, South. We used to drive to Georgia Southern from North Carolina for the weekend.
Oh, wow.
It was a long drive because I had friends down there.
Yeah.
All it was just chasing fun, alcohol, stuff like that. So there was no positive influx of some Jesus in my life. So
Yeah.
started fading that way and just lack of. But then the next deployment was a rough one. In 2006, we went to Ramadi, Iraq, and that was a rough one. They called that the Wild Wild West. We were there for 6.5, 7 months. I can't remember. And we lost 18 guys during that one.
Oh, wow.
And so that one was rough. That was one that changed me for
Yeah.
sure. And I've coped with it since then. If you'd have had this conversation with me 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it wouldn't be the same conversation.
Yeah.
So I like a big thing. I told you I'd open up to you a little bit, so I will.
Yeah.
I remember the first person we killed was a 15-year-old kid
Oh, my gosh.
planting a bomb.
Yeah.
And like at the time, you don't think about it. You're like, that dude's planting a bomb. I don't care how old he is.
Yeah.
And then like at nighttime, you're like, man, I just killed a kid.
Yeah.
And then like that weighs on you a little bit. And then you rationale, hey, he's planting a bomb. He's going to kill one of us, which is true. It's very true. But then like there's just from there, it's just constant getting shot at, shooting back, throughout the stuff. You're getting mortared all the time. There's a big attack that happened. I don't know if you remember Zarqawi was his name. He was a big to do with the Iraqi terrorist or whatever. He was, if they make, how they make like the deck of cards where the most wanted list for terrorist or whatever. Like he was one of the aces. He was a bad guy. He planned an attack on a base we lived at and drove 700 pounds of C4 through the front gate, and it blew up. And we were getting mortared at an opposite base, and like it was a rough day. Luckily, nobody died from us. I don't know how many we as a unit got of theirs, but like that was a rough day.
Yeah.
And then things started slowing down a little bit after that. And then I had two close friends die. Tomsey and Warndorf were their last names. And Warndorf was really close to me. He was one of my really good friends. He got blown up by a vehicle-borne IED or whatever while he was checking on his guys on post.
Oh,
so
man.
that one was rough. That one, I was with him when he passed. It was a rough one, and it took 15 years to get over that one.
Yeah.
I named my son after him.
Yeah.
He was a good dude, and that whole deployment, just the ins and outs of all of it, really took an effect on a lot of my guys.
Yeah.
To revert back to my goals, the original, I was a corporal at that point. I was a squad leader. I led troop. That was the deployment where I got to lead troops in combat. So I checked that box.
So you were in hot water, but you accomplished your goal. So it's like, yay!
At that point, the goals were kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It was just kind of like, man, let's just get home.
Yeah.
For the next deployment or whatever. That would have been my last one, no matter what, because I would have had 6 months left when I got out.
But that advancement and that growth and that, like the goal was not like, oh, I want this, but it was like the fact that you had kind of climbed the ladder.
I think it was more of life. I don't think I cared less about climbing the ladder. Like, yeah, you want to build rank in the military to get more pay, and that's the goal, is to go up. So anyway, I guess
what I'm getting at is I find it really cool that you had a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
But you were also like dealing with all of this, like attack, defend,
Well, I mean, it's nuts thinking of I've thought back on it as a 22-year-old young man, a kid still, 22. I would be responsible for taking 13 or 14 guys out on an ambush for 3 days or on a patrol, and responsible for all of them, which way we go, how do we get there, whether we step across an IED or not, whether we get on an ambush and get shot at ourselves or not. I mean, it's a lot to think about. And we got shot up a lot.
That's what you just said right there. I mean, less than 1%, 0.05% of anyone could ever say that. You know what I mean?
True, which is why most military members have a different sense of life about them afterwards, and a maturity that won't ever be grasped by other people, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They go through things that they're forced to go through things. It's not willing most of the time. It's forced to go through things that train you and mold you into a different being, I guess you would say. Things just don't affect you as the same, which is not all that bad. Phase 3 of my life, I went to be a cop afterward at some point in my life, and that, things didn't affect me like it did some of the younger guys that was being a cop. So anyway, but that deployment changed me a whole lot. I went off the deep end after that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely got back and totally went off the deep end. I was getting out of the Marine Corps like in 6 months. So it was full on, have fun with my friends. Oh, we're back from, war essentially, and go have fun, hang out, whatever. So yeah, that's what I did. And that's kind of where my faith dipped a lot. So before that, I wasn't feeding it, but then at that deployment, it just wasn't there. It wasn't that I didn't believe in God. It wasn't that I wasn't pushing him away. I just didn't think about it.
Yeah.
It was kind of numb, I guess you want to say. So yeah. And then,
so let's leap forward to I want to leap forward as well to kind of when you settled down, you had a family. What were you doing before Calvary, working here? Like, let's jump forward to that.
Let's see. So we'll skip through phase 3 quite a bit. So right after the Marines, I had did private contracting for the government.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. Have you seen the movie 13 Hours?
Yep.
So they were CIA, but what they did with the convoys and protecting people,
Yeah.
that was what we did.
Okay.
So we were we were civilians hired through the State Department.
Yeah.
And we protect foreign dignitaries in high threat areas across the country. I never went to Israel, but our company would do Israel and mostly Iraq. So we stayed in Iraq a bunch, which is cool. I guess travel through Dubai and see a few things. And this part of my life is very important because it was right at the end. I did 2 deployments to Iraq with my wife, with my in the Marine Corps, and then I did 8 deployments, private contracts, and so I did 10 total trips to Iraq. And the reason I just misspoke and said my wife is because right before my last one, I was doing private contract, and I did for 5 years.
Yeah.
And that was fun. It was like 105 days on, 35 days off repetitively. Yeah. And I lived at the beach at the time. So whenever I was off, I just had fun at the beach with my friends. And it was a good healing time. Still drank too much.
Yeah.
But I had a good group of friends down in Florida. Got into some trouble now, but they weren't horrible for me, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But there was an absence of Christ.
Yeah.
But then right before my last deployment, I had actually been praying for about a year. I was in a bad relationship while I was contracting, just toxic. And right during that whole time, I was praying for, hey, I'm just getting older. I was 28. And I was like, I need a wife.
Yeah.
I need a wife. So I started praying, Lord, bless me with a wife. Bless me with a wife. I'm talking for about a year or two. So right before my last deployment to Iraq, I'm in Academy Sports, buying underwear for my trip. And I walk out and I see Miss Hot Stuff walk in, and I'm like, woo, hello, and I'm like, I'm leaving, whatever. So I actually left Academy Sports over by the mall, and I went in the mall and I needed to get 1 or 2 more things. I was like, I sat down for a second. I was like, no, I got to go back. I felt called to go back. I got to go back.
Yeah.
So I drove all the way back over there and went inside like a little stalker.
Yeah.
And I was like, where's that girl at? It's hot. Where's she at? And I'm like, oh, there she is. Ironically, she's in the sports bra section buying some running gear or whatever. And I'm like, hey, I don't ever really do this, blah, blah, blah. But I kind of fudged a little bit. I was like, I knew I was going to Iraq.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm traveling to Dubai, which I was. I was going through Dubai for 2 days for work. I'd love to take you out when I get back. And she's like, oh, okay. Yeah. So she gives me her information or whatever. And, lo and behold, I get postponed a week. I was supposed to leave in like 24 hours after that.
Oh,
so
wow.
I get postponed a week, right?
Yeah.
So me and Gina went on 5 dates in a week.
Okay.
And then we talked on Skype for 3.5 months. Skype, gotta love it, right? This was 2012.
Yeah.
So we talked on Skype for 105 days.
Yeah.
And then I asked her if she wanted to go to Greece when we got back. So we'd only hung out 5 days.
Yeah.
Talked on the phone for 100 days.
Yeah.
So you can find out a whole lot about somebody if you talk every day for 100 days. You know?
Absolutely.
So she's like, yeah, I'll go to Greece and Italy with you. So I get back, and a week later, I take her on a trip and I propose to her.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've literally only hung out with my wife for 9 days before I proposed.
That's so
in
funny.
person. But she was way too good for me.
Yeah.
I needed to act quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I want to focus on her for a second because she is what I'd been praying for. Mm-hmm. Hands down. Wasn't just here's a wife, it's here's the wife.
Yeah.
And she is my rock, 100%. She's still to this day way too good for me. She knows it. It's okay. It's okay. But she is a woman of God. Mm-hmm. She brought me back. The first time I attended Calvary, funny story, was during that time I was deployed on my last deployment on Skype.
Okay.
So she went to church here.
Yeah.
and she would sit in the aisle with a phone on Skype, FaceTiming me.
Wow.
And I'd put a collared shirt on in Baghdad,
Yeah.
Iraq.
Yeah.
You know, in my little hotel room that I had in Baghdad.
Yeah.
And would act like I'm in church. And I'm like, what in the world do these people think
Yeah.
that are looking? And the only reason I did it at the time was to be like, oh yeah, I go to church with you. Let's,
Yeah.
you know, I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
You know, she knows that. But so we ended up after we got back here, I started coming here with her. Which is why we've gone to Calvary ever since 2012, as personally, you know, not working here, but personally.
Yeah.
So that's where I met my wife. Been married 11 years. Don't quote me. Yeah, 11 years. 11 years. Yeah.
3 kids?
2 kids.
2 kids.
Got a 9-year-old boy, Aiden, and a almost 6-year-old in a month, Sophia.
That's incredible.
Yep. And they're a mess in a good way.
Yeah.
So let's see. So that was contracting, and then you said the next point. I quit. Her rule for saying yes to marrying me was I quit contracting, and I was like 10 trips to Iraq was enough. So I was like, what do I do next? I'm not a man of many traits. I can't go do construction or HVAC
Yeah.
so I was like, I'll just be a cop.
Yeah.
So I started being a cop in Chattanooga here in 2014, and I was the oldest guy in the academy. I think I was 30. And I didn't think I was going to love it or whatever, but I enjoyed helping people. It was fun. I made it fun. So
You're going to find this funny. I'm like, all right, Academy Sports, got his wife. Okay, police academy is like when, like, you know, I don't know. I just,
Yeah.
for some reason you use the same word, 2 different things. And I was just like, oh, cool. You know?
yeah, it happens.
Anyway.
Let's see. So what else from there? So the police department was good. You can always come up with negatives about a job. So I got really involved with, yeah, you're good. I got really involved with gang work. So I did 3 years on patrol where I learned a lot. And then for my last 3 years I was there, I was on the gang unit, and I enjoyed it a lot. I was really good at it. And I say that to say I got too involved with it. I would have CIs calling me at dinner, confidential informants, for those who don't know, giving me information, and it would take away from my family a whole lot. You know, we'd do search warrants where we found drugs and guns and stuff, and I'd be 5 hours overtime just dealing with that. And my wife would be like, where are you at? And at that point, we had, my math's not going to math here, but I had a young son, and then my daughter had just been born. So as my wife my wife has a corporate job, you know, so she was doing high level work,
Yeah.
high level parenting,
Yeah.
without much help.
Yeah.
So
Well,
and I kept promising, hey, I'll slow down. I'll get a position where I slow down.
What was it, real quick? What was it where you were like, did you just enjoy like the success of seizing guns and drugs, or like what?
I didn't care about traffic tickets. I didn't care about the little stuff. It was like, okay, what's the biggest impact that I can make? And it was like stopping gang violence. There's too many people getting shot. I saw too many people getting killed over here over nothing,
Yeah.
over territory on the street. It's here in Chattanooga. It's crazy
Yeah.
what people don't know. I didn't know until I was a cop.
Yeah.
Kids will shoot each other just for seeing each other, and then they're the opposite gang set. It's so dumb. It is
Yeah.
absolutely. It's a crisis amongst inner city kids is what it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, I started to adapt to try to fix that. I wouldn't arrest everybody I could. I arrested people that needed to go to jail, some violent people. There's some kids and some young people that could be mentored along the way. You know, that's where like my faith started growing a little bit more. I remember praying with a couple people in the back of my cop car. They'd be in handcuffs and be like, hey, Lee, can you pray for me? I said, well, that's random. Sure. Why not? And I was like, you know, I remember his name. And I was like, you know what? That's probably a good idea. I can start doing this here or there. Now I'm not going to sit there and say I did it with everybody, because not everybody's ready to hear that at the time.
Yeah.
But when they're at their worst, sometimes they are. You're like, hey, you know, Jesus, You
Yeah.
know, you go to jail and the first thing you do is you walk in and some black lady sitting there, oh God, another white cop. And I'm like, oh, do tell. Let's have a conversation, you know, because I don't see color. I see you, I see me, and
Yeah.
you know, we bleed red.
Yeah.
So I was like, so anyway, I'd get a little hug at the end of the night from an
Yeah.
old lady that cussed me out at the beginning. And
Yeah.
it's a little challenge, you know.
Yeah.
But what was going on is I was getting too involved.
Yeah.
And I knew it. My wife would point it out a lot, but it was fun to me. I was
Yeah.
chasing people that didn't want to. It was the ultimate game of hide and seek.
Yeah.
I mean, legitimately, I'm hunting people every day.
Yeah.
My job was not to respond to calls. It was to be proactive and make cases where people that need to go to jail or prison go to jail or prison. So it was very goal oriented. It was very, hey, what severe bad guy can we find today that needs to go to jail? Not just guy that's having a bad day selling a little bit of drugs, but who's the bad guy that's pulling triggers?
Yeah.
So that made it a goal is finding people that needed to get in trouble, essentially. And it was addicting, 100% addicting.
Yeah.
There was a purpose, I guess you could say, but it was all fun and games. And then I got in a little bit of trouble at work. Just a little too involved, I guess you would say. And they say God sometimes closes doors and opens up new ones. He slammed that door closed. My police career ended very abruptly. So nothing criminal, just ended abruptly, and probably could have been fought, maybe not. I don't know. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it took me about a year to swallow that pill and realize that this was absolutely for the best. So I was like, okay, I miss a little bit of the work, but I don't miss. There's a lot of drama in the police department.
Yeah.
Not even on the outside. It's from within too. It's just a lot. And I was like, this is not healthy and not a long-term thing. It was during the time of George Floyd. It was, let's police the police for no reason type deal stuff. Anyway, God shut that door. And then I got a job at Coca-Cola, driving trucks, delivering Cokes. My first real job. My first job where I didn't carry a gun since I was 18. I should have. There was a lot of places that were sketchy to deliver to.
Yeah.
Did that for 2 years, 3 years, maybe, I can't remember. And then Darren here at church, after one of the school shootings that happened on TV, he's like, hey, we need somebody here at church. And apparently he thought I was qualified. So
I mean,
we prayed about it.
I mean, shoot, like there's a certain level of excellence that the church like shoots for. Somebody was saying the other day, I think it was on like a rundown video. It was like, we're Calvary. We don't do anything halfway,
No.
And it's very true. Sometimes I feel like I do things halfway, but I'm reminded like, hey, let's try to do really good here. So what I'm getting at is like, yeah, like we have a school with more than enough students to like protect.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
I think it doesn't matter how many you have; they all need protecting. And it's sad that my job exists as a security director here at church and school.
Yeah.
Here, which it is. It's sad, but it's I asked my boss, Pastor Tim. I was like, hey, before I accepted the job, I was like, what's the long term? He goes, well, we have a school. There'll always be children. They always need teaching, and the world's not going to get any better.
Yeah.
Revelation is going to come at some point.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, job security.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I'm very encouraged. One, that our church, like, our church, like they care about that and they put that into place, and God put you in that place. And like, there's, I feel safer, you know what I mean? Like I like to think that like I can stroll in any room and be good.
You are safe, Stephen.
You know what I mean? but like yeah, I mean, you guys do your trainings and I hear about them doing this, them doing that. Like I'm able to see like a level I want to say like militia, but it's, I don't know.
I think a good way to
It's,
put it is one, before accepting the job, I prayed about it a lot.
yeah.
And felt very strongly about coming over here. And ever since then, this was about a year and a half ago, I absolutely feel like I should be here. And this is where God is put me. My faith has grown exponentially since being around people of God. And that's what was been missing my life. Just not being around it, period. And
Yeah.
just being absent from it. So that's there. And as far as what you're talking about feeling safe around here, you know, we've developed a whole lot. And I think something that's important about our church is that the pastors here are not afraid to speak, and they're very outspoken about the way life is and about Jesus and what we believe.
Yeah.
And that raises a lot of eyebrows and a lot of hate and a lot of just discontent for us in
Yeah.
general. And that's fine. That just means there's more people we need to reach. But also, I think just having one security guy here, it wasn't God's plan. I think it's
Yeah.
developing a network of people. I mean, we have our security team that I like to think is very well equipped, well trained, and ready for anything. But I hopefully one day it's not ready for something that we have to respond to. Hopefully it's so much so that we've got our crap together,
Yeah.
and that it's almost like an ADT sign preventing a robber from
Yeah.
going in a house. We present that we are good and ready for anything, so therefore nothing ever happens.
Yeah.
That's the goal, I think, is to prevent stuff from ever happening.
Absolutely.
So-
Like 3 years ago, there was security. But
Mm-hmm.
now there's like situational, like,
There's layers
yeah, you know what I
of
mean?
security. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's just,
I don't really want to go into detail about layers of security, but we have layers of security.
no, absolutely. And just that's I'm sure a million people tell you this, but like it's just, it's very, like, it goes beyond just like protecting the kids. Like, we've got families that are protected. Like, you're protecting like the Bible, you know?
Yeah.
You're protecting you're allowing church to continue and to not have, you know, it's just, I just think it's really incredible. I mean, there's churches that I see online where like there's police officers on stage, like sitting in chairs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Luckily, we got a lot of police officers that go to church here, and I know that some work here on the weekends and stuff, but or go to the services. So there's always an abundance of security, I get, if you will,
Yeah,
regardless
absolutely.
of whether or not they're getting paid to be here or not. There's
Yeah.
people that believe in the right thing and will always act and do the right thing because it's typically built within you, whether you'll respond or not.
So yeah, we kind of weaved into the work. I'm sure you're not working, so maybe we can let's weave back out of that.
Okay.
Let's talk about tell me a little bit more about now that you, like, before Calvary and now that you're employed here, what has your relationship with the Lord? How has it maybe improved? Like, what has God done in the last year to, like what have you seen? What are the fingerprints that you've seen?
So I think building relationships with people that work here, and not just people that work here, but people that come to church here frequently. There's a lot of people that are involved in Calvary. It's like, oh, you work at Calvary? Oh, you work at Calvary? Oh, your family goes here? Oh, they're all connected. It's really funny. Just building relationships with those and having little mini conversations with you from time to time or other people really help build a relationship with godly people. And I think that just puts your heart in the right place. I don't want to use the word forced. Removing yourself from environments that are negative towards your faith is like huge. And I didn't ever think about it. It was just kind of happenstance. I got hired at Calvary, me getting hired at Calvary probably didn't have anything to do with, oh, you're a wonderful Christian. It probably had something to do with, my demeanor, my security mindset, my abilities,
Yeah.
stuff like that, my training. I am a Christian. I was one when I got hired.
Yeah.
Has my faith grown in the last year and a half? Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. It's taken off more recently. My wife, I can't remember who sent it to my wife, but it was not a podcast. It was it's called Verse by Verse Ministries by Stephen Armstrong. Have you ever heard of him?
I feel like I've heard the name one other time, but I can't quite picture.
So he started the Bible, I want to say 2012, I guess, with Genesis. He has a church. He's a pastor at a church, so he's a full-time preacher, or was. And then on Wednesdays or another day of the week, he would do verse by verse, go through all the way through the Bible, Genesis to Revelation. So somebody sent my wife Revelation to listen to, right? And it's a video and him talking and stuff like that with graphs and all kinds of stuff. And he is by far the most impactful person I've ever heard talk about God. To me personally.
Yeah.
The way he lays it down, it's a matter of fact. He backs it up with scripture, and it's fascinating. It was absolutely fascinating to be able. I've read Revelation before. I've heard a few preachers preach on it here and there, but I've never understood it. When you start talking about 10 crowns and 7 heads, you're like, what? I don't have my mental capacity. I don't understand this. And when I read, it's just I need visuals and stuff.
Yeah.
So the way he lays it down, and I understood Revelation and what our future is, was fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, that's our future. Like it is written, that is our future. There is no way around it. Whether or not it's my future in this life or I'll be dead, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he laid it out, what's happening, what happens when we go to heaven, when we come back to earth, all of the stages that I had no clue about, absolutely no clue. And it puts a completely different perspective about life and what is important.
Yeah.
Very much so what is important. And so I just finished this literally every morning at breakfast. I listen to it. I just finished Revelation a couple months ago. And then I was like, okay, so I rewound, and now I'm in Genesis with him. And I'm going to go through the whole Bible. And it's even listening to Genesis. Like how many times have you read Genesis? A bunch? Quite a few?
I mean, I'm
a couple at least.
A couple,
yeah. Right. So me too. Like growing up, you hear stories and this, but this guy puts perspective on it, just an understanding of the text.
Yeah.
Not here's this story, here's how you can apply it. It's like, here is what God meant. And he backs it up with scripture. There's no guesswork. And it lays it down. It's really fascinating. Hey, Dale.
All right, well then, you're locking down
Sounds good.
because there's nobody else left. Actually, I got 4 or 5 guys, but one guy in there, a Bible thing, that I don't even know where they came from.
Okay.
Even in the front, right? But they're in there. There's only about 5 or 6 of them.
Okay.
But everybody else is,
Yeah.
I didn't even know about this little thing.
That's okay.
No, but that's good. You're here.
Yeah.
He's here.
You made it on camera, Dale.
The place, I'm just getting my stuff and going home.
Sounds good.
The place is locked down. There's nobody else left.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right, guys.
See you, Dale.
See you. It's
Gotta love Dale.
It's a tradition that I want to say I've done 9 podcasts. I think 8 out of the 9, he's just popped his head in and just to see, just
Listen, Dale runs this place.
yeah, he's strolling on through.
I see Dale. I'll watch him because I got all the security cameras pulled up in my office or
Yeah.
whatever. I see him do some of the most tedious work that no one would ever think of. He'll lift up the chairs and these couches. I guarantee they're I can see it. There's a felt pad underneath the chair legs.
Yeah.
And that's because Dale put them there to protect the church floor. That man has done more for this church. It's funny. Anyway.
No, and that's a highlight. I mean, the fact that you wouldn't have thought to say that unless he popped in. So, but anyway, yeah, that's a good attribute. You're championing. Did I say that right?
Don't ask me. I'm not
Okay.
that guy.
I'm not even gonna try again because anyway, you
Channelizing?
championing
Okay.
others.
I got you. Now I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Anyway, but yeah, continue and tell me a little bit more about what the Lord's doing. You know what I mean? I actually, one quick thought, like you talked about community, like the community aspect is like night and day, which is incredible. And it also kind of piggybacking from what you said earlier, like you would work 5 extra hours and you just like, it was like, hey, where are you? You know, from your wife. They emphasize family so much here. So I bet like the family balance.
Work is work. I go home. When I'm not here, there's somebody here on our security team, Dill, for instance, and other people. So that's nice that work's work. I don't have to stress about other things. I can go home and be family oriented, which my family life has grown a lot too. We bought we moved last year and bought a farm. We've got about 15 acres. So I got some goats. That's what I'm talking about.
It's great.
Bought a tractor today. I ordered my tractor today.
Let me guess. Hold on. It is a Kubota?
It is a Kubota.
Ah.
Go big or go home. So, yeah. Yep.
We'll see if it lasts like reliably after 2 years.
Insurance. If it doesn't last, I'll get another one.
Okay, that's good.
That was the selling point. You know, get the insurance. But yeah, so we're doing. My life currently consists of come to work. Work's over. If my kids, let's see, like we just got done with ball season, but my boy Aiden is he's athletic, really bad. Really, I say really bad, but he's really good. Baseball is his love, so he does select baseball, which is almost a year-round thing. And if it's not a year-round thing, he makes it be a year-round thing. He trains on his own. I'm imagining 20 years from or 10 years from now, he makes the big leagues, and I'm sitting back laughing about this podcast. And then, most people are very naive about that, but something about my son is he's different.
Yeah.
He
wants it.
He wants it. He trains by himself. He's determined.
Yeah.
He's the kid that he plays recess, but he'll tell me, "Hey, Daddy, I went and ran laps today at recess.
Yeah.
I went and ran 2 miles at recess." I'm like, "What 9-year-old runs 2 miles at recess?"
Yeah.
Anyway. So side note there. I got a good boy, and my little girl's cute as can be. So she's started horseback riding lessons. So we're going back to my roots when I grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. Which is hilarious to think of my wife as a farmer, but she's done well.
Yeah.
The first time we walked through our woods, she's like, "Spider in my face!"
That's
And
funny.
now she just takes a stick and she's just clearing the way. She's a champ.
That's funny.
So
That's so cool.
we'll get some chickens. Little girl wants a horse, so we'll do a horse someday. And that's a little farming life.
Love
Simple. Getting back to the way God intended things to be. I think
Yeah.
we've really focused on letting the worldly things that distract you, just let them be.
Yeah.
So we've focused a whole lot on family and turning our little property into a little paradise which is funny because like when we're home, it feels like a little mini vacation all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, always something to do.
Yeah.
Which I found rewarding. Like my goats, every day I go out there and mess with my goats. Some days a lot longer than I want to be out there, but at the end of the day, I'm not mad about it. I'm happy about it.
Yeah.
Chopping down trees for them to eat. They're clearing all my woods out.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It is funny actually that I wouldn't have ever put that about me.
Yeah.
5 years ago. Like me, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's funny.
That's great.
Bought a tractor today. I don't know how to drive a tractor, but I'm gonna learn pretty quick.
Yeah. It's going to be great. It's going to be good. Did you get customized buckets?
Oh, I got a lot of
You got
different
forks,
attachments. I got
attachments?
pitchforks, a rake, grapple. If I'm gonna do it, I want to do it right. Quick attach so I can, pull it up in there, all that stuff. Yep.
That's great. Can I borrow that at some point?
Maybe. What do you need? I'll come help you. As soon as I figure it out. Yeah.
No, I'm just being funny. Yeah, that's so cool. Is there, let me think here. What is your, I want to know about your goals. Is there one specific short-term or long-term goal that you are chasing after? When I started this podcast, I was very inspired with, I love Jesus and I want to fellowship and talk about Jesus with other people. But I also wanted to talk about people's goals, and I just wanted to hear about that. Doesn't have to be super big or
As far as
crazy.
a short-term goal, I don't really have one. I'm very content right now. I've got my family; they're growing. We're doing the school, the sports thing, and the farm thing. That's kind of like what my whole life revolves around right now, and I'm fine with that. I don't need much else. You know, if we can take a trip to Europe every other year, that's great. That'd be a goal. So short-term goal wise, I would say
Dunk a basketball.
no. Finish. This is the short-term goal, but it's still a long-term goal at the same time. Finish the Stephen Armstrong series through the Bible. I've done Revelation. I'm in Genesis. Probably take about 4 years with as much as I listen to. Because like I said, I don't listen to podcasts. I'll put this on while I eat breakfast and a couple other times throughout the day. So it's, it's 30 minutes here, 40 minutes here. And it's, I think Revelation was 22 hours worth of content.
Wow.
So it was, I mean, it's in depth. It was, all chapters almost broken down into an hour. So there's a lot of chapters in the Bible. A lot. Anyway, so that's a short-term goal, but it's also going to take a long time.
Yeah.
Long-term goal, like I said, after listening to Revelation and understanding it more, just be a better Christian. Just be better. You could be a good Christian. Just be better. I think a message that Pastor Frank talked about was lukewarm, passive Christians, and don't be one.
Yeah.
So I feel that drive in me. I would say if I was a fire, if like a bonfire, I've got a spark. There's a flame, and it's got to grow. I think it's growing, but I do think I'm at the beginning of that fire, not towards the end, which is not a bad place to be. Wish I would have gotten there sooner, but God put me here. I'm here. So that's my long-term goal, is to be someone that can understand and have a conversation about the Bible that can teach it a little bit to, let's say, a non-believer. And I'm not there yet. I don't have the understanding that some people do around here at work. It's intimidating sometimes walking around. People can quote scripture and do this, and I'm like, nope, not that guy. I don't retain knowledge that way. So I'm learning. So that's a long-term goal.
That's so cool. Well, any closing thoughts? This has been really fun. I very grateful. Sure, it was a little tricky. Maybe beforehand, like, what am I going to talk about? Open up.
I tried not to think about it, because if I think about it, I would have just gotten really pissed off at you for asking me to be here, because this is not my comfort zone. But no, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
Amazing.
You have a peace and ease about you. Makes it easy.
Well, there's probably multiple things that contributed to that, but yeah, I just enjoy talking. It's good. Yeah. So
if I said anything stupid, you can edit it out.
Absolutely. There's not a whole lot that I'll probably edit out, because I mean, you crushed it. So
thank you. I appreciate that. I bet you tell everybody that.
Well, it's on the tip of my tongue most of the time, but but for you, I mean it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So,
do you feel it? Do you
feel like I did okay?
Okay.
I feel like I did okay. I hate hearing my own voice, so I don't even know if I'll watch it.
Okay.
I don't like hearing my own voice. I don't like seeing myself. So I'm just not that outgoing person.
Yeah.
Like on Veterans Day, when like the pastor says, "All the veterans stand up," and then I'm gonna sit down. I'm good.
Yeah.
Thanks. All that kind of stuff.
That's funny.
I'm motivated from within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. That's so funny. All right. Anything else you want to add?
Thanks for having me. Thanks for putting me in my uncomfortable zone.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sacrificing a little bit of time with your family, taking a little bit of time to talk. Yeah. Great episode. It was
Great
good
episode.
stuff. Give
Appreciate
yourself a pat on the back. Look at that. All right. That's the episode.
Appreciate it, buddy. See you next
Absolutely.
time.
Next time.
Maybe around 2.
Maybe.
We'll do 10 years. Got to have something else to talk about. We've talked about it all.
That's right. Well, you said 4, so maybe 4 years. Revelation. Talk about that. Who knows?
Yeah, there we go. See where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can check me.
Yeah.
You were in Genesis in November of 2024.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
5 chapters later, we'll see. You need to step it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, Steven, I appreciate it, buddy.
Absolutely.
All right.
stuff.
Thank you.
See you. Break.